Shane broke the bad news to his wife, lowering his head. "Kathy, I got fired from my job." The crisis didn't bypass their company, and almost half of the employees were made redundant. Shane's boss informed him that his services were not needed for the time being, and he couldn't be sent on vacation because no one knew how long the crisis would last or if it would end at all. She asked in an excited voice, "Is this true?" The husband replied, "I actually got fired. It's not a joke. I don't know what to do. Tomorrow I'm going to look for a new job. But now there is a crisis, and it will not be easy for me to find a similar job where I will be paid decently." Kathy snorted and said nothing more. In the morning, she took her husband a laptop with a bunch of tabs open with job ads. Shane asked her, "I would have found a job myself. Why didn't you sleep?" The wife grumbled, "I know you. You would sit in front of the TV and sit until the evening. Come on, call." The man stunnedly began to blink his eyes. "Let me at least have breakfast and drink coffee." The wife replied, "Who doesn't work, he doesn't eat." Shane didn't expect this. He thought that his wife would try to cheer him up, instill in him the belief that the loss of a job is a temporary matter, and he will quickly find something else. And only reproaches sounded from her. Kathy relented. "Of course I was joking." Apparently, she read the surprise in her husband's eyes, and not just surprise, there was real outrage. Why did she behave this way if she stayed at home after the wedding and never worked? Shane sat down at his laptop and started calling ads. He was answered almost everywhere that the employee had already been found, but they forgot to remove the ad, and only in one place he was invited for an interview. Shane didn't have time to eat breakfast because he was told to arrive as soon as possible. But unfortunately, after the interview, he was not hired. Thus, a whole week passed. Kathy has gone from being a good wife to a real fury. She often lashed out at her husband and told him how unhappy she was with him. Day after day, she criticized him like a naughty kitten for staying home. She forced him to even go to interviews that were far from his line of work. Shane couldn't stand the pressure from his wife and decided to get a job as a janitor in their yard. Of course, the work is not profitable, but he will at least have some income. He will need to work in the morning, and during the day he has the opportunity to continue looking for work. And in the end, working in the open air is good for health. His wife was skeptical about her husband's decision, but didn't dissuade him. She said that money is not superfluous, because the money that he was paid before his dismissal could end quickly, and then they would be left without money. Kathy grumbled every morning when Shane got up at the wake of the alarm and was about to sweep the yard. "I didn't marry the janitor." He shrugged his hands. "Sorry, I didn't quit my job." One day, Shane ran into a female neighbor. They grew up together since childhood, and he knew Audrey well. Now, she has changed a lot and has become more feminine, but she was never able to create a family. And recently, she moved into her parents' apartment. He didn't ask her why she did it. Working as a janitor, he heard what people were talking about. And one of the news was that Audrey left her fiancé, or he kicked her out. There were different versions. And again in the morning, he met Audrey in the yard. Audrey asked as she approached the man, "Shane, why did you decide to get a job as a janitor?" He shrugged his hands. "Life has decided so." "Life is complicated, and now I earn by baking pies at home. It's so good that I don't have to depend on anyone. I gathered my customer base and equipped one room." Shane got into a conversation with Audrey and didn't even notice how quickly time flew by, and her story led him to the idea that he too could start his own business. Even if he doesn't receive good money, they will not be superfluous. In his youth, the man was fond of wood carving. Audrey said, "Put an ad on the internet and try to sell something. Suddenly you can. It's hard to find a job now." Several days have passed. Audrey came in almost every morning to chat like a female neighbor, treated Shane to her pies and cheered him up, telling him not to ruin his talents because he could make good money if he wanted to. "Exclusive souvenirs could be of interest to many people. Now the crisis, but the rich always have money, and they have their own quirks. The main thing is to present the idea correctly, that's all." And once, Audrey offered Shane a part-time job. "I get asked more and more about courier delivery. You have a car. and are often at home. Do you want to deliver my orders to customers from time to time? I'll pay whatever you say. Of course, we will not take a lot of money from one order, but there are 10 of them per day. Maybe you'll earn a good amount." The man agreed immediately, but until the moment he finds a job. When the man returned home, he wanted to share the good news with his wife that he had found a part-time job, but she met him with a cold look. She got angry. "Every day you chat with an abnormal female neighbor. Have you thought about looking for a job?" "You know that I look through ads and go to interviews every day. I haven't found anything yet." "So you're looking badly, and stop talking to her. Otherwise, soon all the neighbors will start pointing fingers at us and consider us just as crazy. You embarrass me in front of the neighbors." Shane was very surprised. Firstly, they were his neighbors because he lived in this apartment from birth, and Kathy moved here only after the wedding. And secondly, only Kathy considered Audrey crazy, and everyone else communicated well with the woman. Shane went into the room, deciding he wouldn't talk about the part-time job. On this day, he decided not to look for work, but to look for wood products that other wood carvers sold. He could try to start with something and then invent something new and unusual so that they buy from him faster. The wife snorted. "That's how he looks for a job." Then she lay down on the bed with a book in her hands and grumbled for a long time. At night, Shane wondered, lying next to his wife in bed, why he chose Kathy. Why did he choose to marry her? She wasn't like that before. Or did she behave differently because he was less likely to be at home and brought in a lot of money each month? However, he decided that his wife reproached him again for not looking for work. He would say that she too could get some work. The next day was spent traveling. There was a high demand for courier delivery, and the man made more money than he expected. Of course, this is not even enough for half a trip to the store because of the request of his wife, but it's still money. Kathy was already asleep when he returned, so there were no tantrums. The wife calmed down a little during the week that Shane helped Audrey with the delivery of baked goods, because the man gave all the money to her. But when the female neighbor had a day off, and the man sat down to work with wood, Kathy again ran into his office. "Don't you have anything else to do? When was the last time you were at an interview? And why do you like this crazy woman that you work for her and are nice to her?" Shane broke down and said, "Please don't talk bad about people you don't know at all. Audrey is a normal woman, and you with your royal manners." The wife was indignant. "What? How dare you say that to me? You've been sitting at home for almost a month." Shane was indignant, unable to keep everything inside. "I work, although I sit at home, and you have not earned a penny for our life together." He was tired of having his feet wiped on him. The wife should support him, not reproach him. "That's how. You can't earn money yourself. Now you want me to earn money in our family, right? And you're protecting her." Kathy ran to the closet and hurriedly tossed things into her bag. "I'm leaving you. You understand me? Poor janitor. Get out to your neighbor if you like her so much." Kathy jumped out into the entrance, being angry at the behavior of her husband, who dared to reproach her for being at home. He's a man, so he has to provide for his family, and she should stay at home. Mom always said that. Kathy couldn't stand it and called the neighbor's apartments. Audrey opened the door and froze in amazement. Audrey asked in a worried voice, "Did something happen to you?" Kathy said furiously, "Yes, it happened. Did you like my husband? Have you decided to caress and pity him? So take care of him then. I give him to you. I don't need that pathetic janitor." Audrey stood there, unable to understand anything, while Kathy hurried down the stairs. Several months have passed. Kathy couldn't live with her mother because she constantly said that her daughter needed to look for a job. After all, the two of them will not have enough of her pension. Kathy remembered how calmly and happily she had lived next to her husband, whom she hastened to divorce in the first month after her departure. And she decided to go to him. She did her makeup, hair, dressed up, and called a taxi. Kathy arrived at the house she had lived in a few months ago, unlocked the intercom with her key, and went upstairs. The husband changed the lock in the apartment, which the woman didn't immediately understand. She pressed the doorbell as she saw his car near the entrance. After a few seconds, Shane opened the door and looked at his ex-wife in bewilderment. Shane asked her, "Kathy, hello. Why did you come here?" "Hi, I wanted to know how you're doing." Have you got a job? I'm fine. I returned to my old job. The crisis is over. And how are you? Shane was in no hurry to let Kathy into the apartment, and she didn't like it. She was already beginning to look over his shoulder and think about how she could get him to invite her in. I missed you. A woman's voice was heard from the apartment. Shane, who's there? Kathy saw Audrey and turned pale with anger. What the hell was she doing here? And then she remembered that she herself, in a fit of rage, gave her husband to the neighbor. Kathy said, Quickly, you forgot me, and she is only glad that she got someone else's man. Shane growled, She's my wife, and I won't let you insult her. You understand me? Go your way. The free feeder is closed for you forever. Shane slammed the door in her face, and Kathy burst into tears, realizing that she had missed her happiness, not the man, but the money he provided her with. Audrey looked at Shane in surprise. She asked him, wide-eyed, A wife? I thought we were just... Why not? No one has ever supported me as much as you, and I only recently realized that I liked you a lot for a long time. But if you have someone... Audrey replied, Yes, causing Shane to lower his head and scold himself for the fact that his happiness was so close and he didn't see it right away. Audrey said, Now I have you. After which, she hugged him. 6 months later, Shane and Audrey got married. By this time, another driver was delivering Audrey's orders. Shane worked at his former job, and in his spare time, he was engaged in wood carving, and this began to bring him income. Now they were thinking about selling their apartments and buying a house with a large kitchen for Audrey and a workshop for Shane, and also a large garden in which their son or daughter will run, because Audrey is pregnant.